Chapter 6. 4 o'clock in the afternoon by Victor Hugo from the book Les Miserables. Towards 4 o'clock the condition of the English army was serious. The Prince of Orange was in command of the center, Hill of the right wing, Picton of the left wing. The Prince of Orange, desperate and intrepid, shouted to the Hollando-Belgians, "Nassau, Brunswick, never retreat." Hill, having been weakened, had come up to the support of Wellington. Picton was dead. At the very moment when the English had captured from the French the flag of the 105th of the line, the French had killed the English general, Picton, with a bullet through the head. The battle had, for Wellington, two bases of action, Hougoumont and La Haye-Sainte. Hougoumont still held out but was on fire. La Haye-Sainte was taken. Of the German battalion which defended it, only 42 men survived. All the officers, except 5, were either dead or captured. 3,000 combatants had been massacred in that barn. A sergeant of the English Guards, the foremost boxer in England, reputed invulnerable by his companions, had been killed there by a little French drummer boy. Bering had been dislodged, Alten put to the sword. Many flags had been lost, one from Alten's division, and one from the battalion of Lunenburg, carried by a prince of the House of Dupont. The Scotch Greys no longer existed. Ponsonby's great dragoons had been hacked to pieces. That valiant cavalry had bent beneath the lancers of Bro and beneath the cuirassiers of Travers. Out of 1,200 horses, 600 remained. Out of 3 lieutenant colonels, 2 lay on the earth, Hamilton wounded, Mater slain. Ponsonby had fallen, riddled by 7 lance thrusts. Gordon was dead. Marsh was dead. 2 divisions, the 5th and the 6th, had been annihilated. Hougoumont injured, La Haye-Sainte taken, there now existed but one rallying point, the center. That point still held firm. Wellington reinforced it. He summoned thither Hill, who was at Merle Braine. He summoned Chassé, who was at Braine-l'Alleud. The center of the English army, rather concave, very dense and very compact, was strongly posted. It occupied the plateau of Mont Saint-Jean, having behind it the village, and in front of it the slope, which was tolerably steep then. It rested on that stout stone dwelling which at that time belonged to the domain of Nivelles, and which marks the intersection of the roads. A pile of the 16th century, and so robust that the cannonballs rebounded from it without injuring it. All about the plateau the English had cut the hedges here and there, made embrasures in the hawthorn trees, thrust the throat of a cannon between 2 branches, embattled the shrubs. Their artillery was ambushed in the brushwood. This Punic labor, incontestably authorized by war, which permits traps, was so well done that Haxo, who had been dispatched by the emperor at 9 o'clock in the morning to reconnoiter the enemy's batteries, had discovered nothing of it, and had returned and reported to Napoleon that there were no obstacles except the 2 barricades which barred the road to Nivelles and to Genappe. It was at the season when the grain is tall. On the edge of the plateau a battalion of Kemp's brigade, the 95th, armed with carabines, was concealed in the tall wheat. Thus assured and buttressed, the center of the Anglo-Dutch army was well posted. The peril of this position lay in the forest of Soignes, then adjoining the field of battle, and intersected by the ponds of Groenendael and Boitsfort. An army could not retreat thither without dissolving. The regiments would have broken up immediately there. The artillery would have been lost among the morasses. The retreat, according to many a man versed in the art, though it is disputed by others, would have been a disorganized flight. To this center, Wellington added one of Chassé's brigades taken from the right wing, and one of Wink's brigades taken from the left wing, plus Clinton's division. To his English, to the regiments of Halkett, to the brigades of Mitchell, to the guards of Maitland, he gave as reinforcements and aids the infantry of Brunswick, Nassau's contingent, Kielmansegge's Hanoverians, and Ompteda's Germans. This placed 26 battalions under his hand. The right wing, as Cheres says, was thrown back on the center. An enormous battery was masked by sacks of earth at the spot where there now stands what is called the Museum of Waterloo. Besides this, Wellington had, behind a rise in the ground, Somerset's Dragoon Guards, 1,400 horse strong. It was the remaining half of the justly celebrated English cavalry. Ponsonby destroyed, Somerset remained. The battery, which, if completed, would have been almost a redoubt, was ranged behind a very low garden wall, backed up with a coating of bags of sand and a large slope of earth. This work was not finished. There had been no time to make a palisade for it. Wellington, uneasy but impassive, was on horseback, and there remained the whole day in the same attitude, a little in advance of the old mill of Mont Saint-Jean, which is still in existence, beneath an elm, which an Englishman, an enthusiastic vandal, purchased later on for 200 francs, cut down and carried off. Wellington was coldly heroic. The bullets rained about him. His aide-de-camp Gordon fell at his side. Lord Hill, pointing to a shell which had burst, said to him, "My lord, what are your orders in case you are killed?" "To do like me," replied Wellington. To Clinton he said laconically, "To hold this spot to the last man." The day was evidently turning out ill. Wellington shouted to his old companions of Talavera, of Vittoria, of Salamanca, "Boys, can retreat be thought of? Think of old England." Towards 4 o'clock, the English line drew back. Suddenly nothing was visible on the crest of the plateau except the artillery and the sharpshooters. The rest had disappeared. The regiments, dislodged by the shells and the French bullets, retreated into the bottom, now intersected by the back road of the farm of Mont Saint-Jean. A retrograde movement took place, the English front hid itself, Wellington drew back. "The beginning of retreat," cried Napoleon.